there was a bit of a turning point where I really was thinking about how valuable is this? I mean, it's great. I'm making things by hand on the hierarchy of objects. A handmade thing seems important to me and really valuable. I would sometimes imagine this like mound of stuff that I had made in the last like 10, 12 years, and just felt like, does it matter, I guess. And that's where I sort of started to think a little more about making something beyond just an aesthetically pleasing object and take my individual touch out of it and make it more about the material and the place.
Contemplative short. I really enjoyed it. A ceramic artist decided to create handmade pottery that had more meaning than just a pretty work of art. She, with the help of her family, decided to create items out of the mud she found on her property. This allowed her to focus on two things, materials and place, in a sustainable, regenerative way. She was also proud to report that a portion of the proceeds of the sale of her pottery would go to help oppose fish farms of wild salmon, which negatively affected the whole area where they live. I love the shots of them working together, living off the land, and the gentle soundtrack below the action. Well done.
What an interesting little documentary. I really liked learning the story of the artist who's featured in this. Just her whole process and her philosophy in the creation is very inspiring and very interesting to discover. The way it was filmed also is you really felt the earth being invoked in this film. Almost every frame felt so earthy, and the nature just coming through the screen. It was just very subtle, grounded, a wonderful exploration of the subject matter through images and sound and experience. Well done. Very creative, very ingenious, and very well put together.
I loved this. I thought that being able to see her create at the very beginning and throw on the wheel and like create the her different pieces right away, and then showing what that actually really entails of her like going out to the woods, like gathering the clay herself, and then like her explaining that like each piece is geotagged with an exact location of where the clay came from. I thought was so interesting. I personally have not heard of that before, that type of art, and it is art, but it's also like useful items. Like they're things that you can have, it's like a full dinner set. Like because it's pottery, you can in fact, like, it's a very useful thing to invest in, but they're really beautiful. And knowing exactly where they came from and knowing that the artist is just so involved and she's not just ordering the clay from some, source. And like the you could have like the geolocation of exactly where your clay came from that the artist went and got, that then turned into this thing that you eat off of every day or drink coffee out of or whatever it is. I think is such a beautiful it's such a beautiful like circle almost, being able to source it that far. And I think that she just did a really good job of explaining why she's passionate about that and why she believes so much in it. And obviously that does translate through her work itself.
It really feels like the subject matter, handmade pottery, it really asks you the question, do you know where the materials you use in your everyday life come from? Do you know the effort and the time is made into every clay plate, every bowl, every ceramic surface? All these things were made, and in terms of handmade pottery, it was made by a particular person with lived experiences, and a certain intention behind the actions. The The film felt very slow, very deliberate, from sourcing the clay from the ground, like she was literally just in the dirt, to putting the final touches on a piece of tableware. The whole story feels like a meditative session on a meditative session on attention and also on appreciating the items in your life. I feel like very people like to just buy things or collect a lot of things just in the pursuit of materialism. I feel like this was to be more intentional in the things that you do buy and see if you are able to create them instead and actually have this unique piece of art that you use in your everyday life, that you know where it's come from, you know what kind of has put the work and effort into it. Intentional, unhurried, and attuned to the natural world, it really puts into perspective the effort that's put into every piece.
This is a beautiful film with the story of a family that lives by a deep sense of nature appreciation, paying a tribute to earth and honoring it by living sustainably with a purpose. And they just show great images from the clay mine and the whole clay products processing, and I love the close-ups and the slow motion that they use in some scenes to add emphasis. It is just beautiful. Her products are outstandingly beautiful and unique. I really love them.
Really vibrant and translucent and muted green tones in the visual landscape, which I don't think was an accident. I think that was a deliberate choice by the filmmaker to really draw the sense of lushness and greenness to the forefront, as the subject matter of the film was about this woman who is a ceramicist and sourcing her clay literally locally by going out there with a shovel and a bucket and digging it out and using it. And this idea of focusing on earth-based or very local and earth-connected kind of creative practice and also just life style and life choices. So I think that getting to see the different textures and the different feelings of the different stages of the creative process, from starting pulling this material from the earth all the way until using it to then have a delicious family meal, created a sense of, you know, continuity and connection between the earth and having a lifestyle that feels connected with that rather than made very distant through manufacturing processes or unsustainable consumer practices. And that
It's a wonderful piece. I just absolutely love it. I love, you know, the title, first of all, Shared Earth. There's so much to be said in that, and just saying that phrase, you know, it evokes a lot. And then we get in, we see that she's working in ceramics and that she's digging up her own clay. She's hand making these vessels and then passing them on to people to use and talking about a shared experience there. You know, that's a wonderful thing. You know, it's a wonderful thought and a wonderful thing that an artist can do. For me, I kind of think of it in terms of as a photographer. You know, I create an image and I pass it along to a user. To a viewer, and they'll see it and they'll have an experience. We'll have a shared experience, perhaps, that it brings back a memory of them being at a location that I photographed, what have you. You know, but like we create art of a certain aesthetic to evoke something in somebody, you know. And the fact that she says, well, I don't want to just create something beautiful, I want to make something useful, you know, there's real value in that too, you know. And it's wonderful that she is doing it all from the ground up, just so to speak, you know, going out and digging that clay and, you know, giving utility to something that a lot of people she knows think as being a nuisance, as being worthless. You know, she digs up the clay, she shapes it, she makes the object, she passes it along. It's shared earth. So it's a wonderful message, you know, and it's a wonderfully made film. I love the pacing of it. Everybody, you know, the main subject and everybody on screen was very relatable and likable. Yes, well edited, well directed, well written, well put together. Love the score. She's wonderful in the voiceover. And I really want that pizza so badly that she's making there at the end, and the salad to go with it, the salad in those bowls. It looks so wonderful. So, yeah, no, great piece. And, I hope this does well for the teams. It's really wonderful.